Is knowledge still power in the age of AI? For the corporate professionals I work with, the answer is no longer obvious. My clients are highly educated and hardworking, and they've done everything right for their careers. They started with postgraduate degrees in science, tech, or engineering, often holding a PhD or master's degree. Later in their careers, they joined MBA programs, leadership training, certifications to add managerial and leadership skills to their toolkit. These are project managers, product managers, scientists, engineers, technical experts, and team leaders. They care about quality, they hold themselves to high standards, and have built their careers on being the ones who deliver. But somewhere along the way, learning has stopped producing results. Hard work has stopped producing recognition. And if you see yourself in any of these, stay with me. I hear different versions of this from different clients. Sarah, I did so well last year. I closed my performance review with results way above target. And now I see colleagues with less experience stepping into leadership roles ahead of me. Something is not right with me. And they cannot name what is missing, but they feel this is not fair. And for someone whose identity and self-worth are deeply connected to growth, whose core value is professional growth, watching themselves stagnate is painful. Seeing their skills and talents go unacknowledged and underutilized is hard. They begin to question the hard work they put into their careers. And today, I want to talk about what keeps highly talented professionals trapped despite knowledge, experience, and work ethic, and why more information and knowledge is rarely the way out. And if you don't know me, my name is Sarah Mobarhanfad, business and leadership coach, and I have worked with hundreds of professionals navigating exactly this. As a former corporate supply chain professional, I have also first-hand experience of this problem. I know exactly how it feels to stop growing. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the less obvious reasons of mid-career stagnation among high performers and ambitious professionals. One of the biggest reasons high performers stay stuck is information overload. We are living in the age of content, and especially those who come from highly educated backgrounds want to solve every problem by acquiring more knowledge. They intellectualize everything. But look, there are books about everything, courses about everything. There is AI that has access to the whole world's consciousness and information. YouTube videos, LinkedIn posts, you could Google anything. There is so much knowledge and experience available to everyone, everywhere, and it doesn't even cost so much money. But leadership and professional growth, like these type of challenges, are not just about knowing and information. They often need you to go experiment, take action, receive feedback from others, do something. When you collect too much information but cannot use them in action, then that knowledge is not power. It could be wisdom, it's information, you could give it to someone else, but it doesn't create much power for you. And action is about habits, it's about lifestyle, it's about identity, mindset, subconscious patterns. And it needs alignment of the nervous system, mind, body, and brain. So, for example, you can learn 25 different ways of solving a problem, but trying 25 different strategies takes time. It creates a huge mental load. It's actually draining and tiring, especially when you do not have lived experience to know what actually fits. So you kind of have to blindly try these 25 different ways. And this is why so many people take courses and never apply what they learn. They just heard something that this could be helpful, take this course, and then they're not in the position to bring that knowledge into action. Too much information and way too little integration and implementation. You could read 100 books about CEOs. You can finish an executive MBA about leadership and still not become a CEO or a leader. Because being a CEO is not just about knowledge and a strategy. It is accepting yourself as that kind of leader. Behaving differently, thinking differently, communicating differently, defining boundaries differently. And there are energetical elements and identity shifts there that have nothing to do with information. Intellectuals and analytical thinkers, like a lot of people I work with, like scientists, engineers, tech people, they try to solve everything through knowledge, strategy, step-by-step manuals and methods. And this is often why they stay stuck at some point. Things just don't work at some point, because professional growth is more about a way of being than just what you do. And it's like swimming or driving or skiing. You can know the theory, but you only learn swimming by being in the water, trying things, practicing. And this is where leadership problems start. Some problems are not intellectual problems. Sometimes you know what to do intellectually, but something internally is still resisting action, let's say. Like, you know, you need to be more visible. Imagine like you were told, you were advised by an expert that you have to be active on LinkedIn, or you have to go offer a public talk on a stage, or maybe you need to be on a TED talk or a TEDx talk, or you need to be on a podcast, or this sort of situations. And so you know what to do, but then when you think of doing it, you feel that sensation in your body or that voice in your head that says like, no way. I can't see myself being on a podcast or being in a magazine, or who am I to do this, or everyone's going to make fun of me, or those kind of thoughts. And then you eventually may not do it, may not do the right thing despite knowing that's the right thing to do. And this is where identity shifts become important. Another thing I notice is this obsession with confidence. A lot of people who come to me or even other coaches, they say, I want to be more confident. Help me build more confidence. But confidence in isolation is not necessarily helpful. What many people actually want is more power, more influence, more trust, more respect, more ability to influence decisions, more ability to shift minds, more ability to build strategic relationships. I had a client who was a scientist in a large pharmaceutical company in Switzerland, and she had patents and inventions under her name. She was very good at her job. She was extremely confident in her technical abilities. And she believed in herself, actually. She had the mindset. She felt ready for a more senior leadership role. But she felt her senior leaders, the decision makers, did not really care about her perspective. They did not see her in the role of a leader. And she was confident, but powerless. And that was what we worked on. And she got the leadership role after a few months, but it was not just because of her confidence. It's because of the way she built power. You see, in professional growth journey, you need power, influence, action, and all of these key elements depend on other people around you, your peers, your support system, your close friend, your coaches and mentors, advocates, sponsors, teachers, advisors. And of course, it also has to do with the environment you're working in. In some company cultures, you may have all of this, but they never support your growth. So it's great to read books and listen to podcasts. You must do that. But if this is the only way you think you could grow, it's the only thing you are doing for your professional growth, then do not expect much, or do not expect the change to happen anytime soon. I have coached hundreds of professionals and worked with even more people through consulting and training. And one of the things I notice is that people who invest in growth often care deeply about purpose. The ones who come to coaching, these are the ones I'm talking about. They care about purpose, meaning, impact, contribution to the community or society, being useful in some form. And they're not just trying to make a little bit more money. Many of them studied and worked hard because they wanted to create a meaningful life. And there is a neuroscience model called SCARF model by Dr. David Rock. I really love this model. I just find it so fascinating. And it shows the 5 important aspects of our lives: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness are critical. And the basic idea is that social threats targeting these aspects activate the brain almost like there is physical pain. And of course, different people care differently about each of these aspects. Like for me, being in an environment where my autonomy is limited is unbearable. That's probably why I made myself self-employed. I seem to need a lot of autonomy, like being myself, being able to do things, and I need to lead my life and career and a lot of things. But I care less about certainty. I have lived through a lot of unpredictable situations. I'm an immigrant, originally come from the Middle East. Certainty is, I know I can live without it. Not that I hate it. So if you're a high performer, it is very likely that lack of growth can genuinely feel threatening, because the slow or no growth manifests itself in lower status, less certainty, less autonomy, especially if you want to be a leader. It's not happening. You might feel it's unfair that your hard work is not being rewarded. And not moving towards a vision starts making life emotionally flat and meaningless. So it can affect your mental health. So professional growth is not just a nice luxury to have. You can't just give up your desire for growth. It's what connects you with your life force, especially if you're someone who deeply cares about growth and meaning and purpose. And if you have tried everything and did not see the progress you expected, this is a sign that you need to work with a coach or mentor or some form of support to think differently, to look for a solution from a different level of awareness. As someone who has invested a lot of time and money into being trained as a coach and being coached myself, I genuinely believe coaching is one of the most transformational methods for growth. Honestly, if coaching was part of our early life education system, I think many problems in the world would not escalate the way they do. Coaching is a space where you talk to a professional trained in challenging your thinking model, observing you and giving you feedback on your blind spots and hidden sabotaging behaviors and beliefs. And this is how you solve wicked problems, complex problems, because you learn to tackle them from a new level of awareness and consciousness. But not everyone is ready for coaching. Coaching is not for everyone. It's also not the solution to every problem. Because coaching means feedback, it means facing yourself, doing uncomfortable things, having difficult conversations, being challenged, changing habits, and discovering that the thing you need to do is exactly the thing you have been avoiding. And if someone does not have enough stability in their life yet, or enough self-awareness, or enough baseline knowledge, then coaching can feel too intense, too hard to take action on. And this happens to a lot of people. Sometimes you need to be healed from something to be able to build the capacity to receive that sort of support. Sometimes what someone needs first is therapy or a course or a book or healing on a spiritual level. So there needs to be some baseline. Otherwise, coaching will not work. And it's like someone wanting to run a marathon after a major accident or some form of injury or disability or being overweight. And even the best fitness coach in the world cannot help much if the person still has serious injuries. You can't just go to the coach and they do any magic for you. There has to be a foundation first. You need to be healthy enough to do this. And I say this honestly because early in my coaching career, I also worked with clients. I was just working with everyone that was coming my way. And I worked with clients who were not fully ready. And it was hard to get results. And I was doing everything outside the scope of coaching to support them. And it was not working. It was taking a lot of energy from me. I was blaming myself. But I was saying, like, they have everything. We worked on everything. What else we could do? But still, the results were not coming. And now I acknowledge that not everyone is ready. Those clients were not into coaching on that topic, was not a priority in their lives. And as a coach, I do not want to be a cost. I want to be an investment with high return on investment, with high ROI. But if you already tried many things, if you are open to feedback, to hearing about new perspectives, if your current situation feels unbearable, if you're tired of your current identity and you desire a big shift to reinvent yourself, if you deeply want your next level goal, then coaching can become extremely powerful. Clients often come to me after something emotionally uncomfortable happens at work. Every organization, a promotion they expected goes to someone else, a betrayal at work, a crisis, a conflict, a challenge with a supplier, or they suddenly realize, I cannot continue like this anymore. I don't want to be like this anymore. They feel powerless, invisible, agitated, disconnected from meaning. And most of them have felt like this earlier in their careers, but thought, okay, once I finish this MBA or master's or leadership training, everything will become easier. But then they become more aware of company politics, culture, relationship dynamics, power structures. They learn strategies, they learn about negotiation frameworks, project management tools, all of that. And they learn all of these things. and notice, but they're not using most of what they learned from that expensive MBA or leadership or managerial educational program they did. Because in most cases, they have not accepted to see themselves as leaders. I believe that transformational success starts with identity shifts, behavior changes, understanding your sabotaging patterns, getting to know yourself on a deep level. And this work does not happen in isolation. You are who you are in relation to others. And I always love to give my clients actionable homeworks, experiments, something that involves other people in their lives and it's not just about talking in the session. It's not like therapy. So this is why I do not only focus on mindset. We look at relationships, team dynamics, the real culture of your organization and not the one written on company websites. I hold a mirror in front of my clients because you cannot solve problems you do not know you have. I also believe your nervous system matters. If your body and nervous system do not feel safe with growth, they will sabotage your growth. You will suddenly get sick while something big is happening professionally for you. You will find yourself in complex situation. Your body will find a way to sabotage you if it doesn't feel safe with success. Growing with an anxious nervous system is like driving with one foot on gas and one foot on the brake. Eventually, the strongest force wins. So it's either the gas or the brake, but it's very difficult to live like that and grow like that. Your nervous system must feel safe and supported with success. Otherwise, it will see your success as threats and it will do everything for you to not to be in that threat. So I use a compassionate approach to help you create that capacity for growth and change. And of course, if it helps, I share from my own experience of leading and managing businesses and corporate roles. I have spent half of my adult life in corporate and the rest of it in entrepreneurship, leading different types of businesses and now doing coaching. I'm always curious about the exact moment people decide to work for the coach. I call it the enough is enough moment. And there's usually a moment where something becomes impossible to ignore. One of my clients, Alex, was a scientist. I've worked with a lot of scientists. And she had over 14 years of experience. She had all the credentials you could hold. PhD, MBA, PMP, postdoc, coaching certification, everything you could think of. And she had already worked with coaches and mentors before. She already had this mindset. If you're serious about something, if you're serious about growth or achieving something, stop wasting time struggling alone, go get a coach. She had this Roger Federer mindset, I would call it. So we worked together during an extremely difficult year. Her company went through multiple reorganizations. Every month she was so close to losing her job. But during that same year, she built a coaching business on the side. She moved into a higher level leadership role, mentored other people. She also achieved a load of other things I don't even remember. But she was so strong, so resilient, and achieved so much because she had this mindset that success was non-negotiable for her. And she would always go for the most efficient way, and she would always get support on the way. I had another client, Simon, who worked in supply chain and procurement in a very similar role I worked myself in once. And like many procurement and supply chain professionals, he felt underappreciated. These are the kind of roles where people only notice you when there is a crisis. It's people who work in operation probably resonate with this. And then suddenly, you're expected to perform miracles when something goes wrong. But as long as everything works smoothly, you don't get much recognition. No one really knows what you do. So Simon was in that kind of role. And when he reached out to me, it was after the third time he got rejected for an internal leadership role he had his eye on, and he would ask for it, and he wasn't promised anything, but he kind of had this idea that this is for me and I would get it. So he got rejected and he felt so resentful, angry, exhausted, and thought he just needs to accept this. But then he was like, I can't continue like this. I'm so fed up with this situation. Why can't I not have what I desire so badly? And eventually we worked together. He moved to another company, to a bigger role, a much larger team, better salary, and a culture he could actually feel he belongs to. And no longer had to fight the environment to feel respected. So together, we worked on transforming that anger and frustration into a force of change. If he didn't feel that anger, uncomfortable feeling, he probably wouldn't have worked on this. He probably would have accepted his first role, stayed in that company. We probably would have never met, but we met because of his anger. So he was able to turn that anger and frustration into fuel for courage so that he can act for change. So that's why feeling frustrated is important. That's why I actually like when clients come with big emotions: anger, betrayal, frustration, disappointment. There is energy inside those emotions. So if you have these emotions, I just want you to know that there is power in those emotions. And that is often where people stop tolerating things that no longer fit them. And this is also why I work privately one-on-one with so many people. Of course, I've done a lot of groups. I still continue to do workshops and groups every now and then. But the main work that I really see, like where big transformations are happening, is private one-on-one work. Because many conversations are deeply specific and confidential. I used to offer business coaching in the past to entrepreneurs, and groups were so helpful for them because we would do more consulting and they would bring a lot of business problems and we would brainstorm over that. But in leadership coaching around workplace topics, I see often a level of safety and privacy is needed, especially in Switzerland. The country is small. A lot of people know each other. So you just want to be more careful about privacy and data and what is shared in one meeting. And being discreet is extremely important in professional coaching. All client stories I share publicly are shared with permission of the client. Sometimes I change names. Everything that I share publicly with picture and names, this is with full permission of the people. And sometimes you need to be able to talk about an uncomfortable conversation with a manager or a team member or a business partner, maybe a negotiation, a political situation, sensitive leadership dynamic. And these are not things people necessarily want to discuss publicly in a group. And one-on-one coaching is for people who no longer want another 6 months of confusion and experimentation, because you get customized support for your unique situation. And you also can share whatever you want without fearing, was I too vulnerable? Did I overshare? What if someone hears about this and I get into trouble? So one-on-one coaching is for people who are busy, who do not want to watch 50 videos to learn how to do something, and who want focused transformation. And yes, AI can give you useful advice and some coaching. AI is very good these days. I do get coaching from AI myself sometimes, but AI is not invested in your growth, and there is no accountability, and it does not have emotion or compassion to feel your energy. So there are limitations to that. If you feel truly done with your current situation, if you no longer want to tolerate this version of your life, and if you recognize yourself in the stories I share, then you're probably in this state I call the invisible talent trap. You have the talent, the skills, the qualifications, the experience, but you're the best kept secret. And it's very hard to get out of this situation, which looks very much like a trap. So if this invisible talent trap sounds familiar, then this is what I recommend. If you want meaningful transformation in the next 3 or 6 months, not next year or 5 years or I don't know, future, as soon as possible, then I invite you to fill out the application form below. And we can explore whether private one-on-one coaching with me makes sense for your situation or not. This is especially for those who are serious about changes, starting the process as soon as possible and do not want endless trial and error anymore. So send the application. I personally read every application, and I genuinely believe if I can help you, I invite you to a conversation. If I see from the form that I may not be helpful to you, then I will save both of us time, and I'll probably guide you to other resources. And the application process is not about gatekeeping. It's not sales trick. It's not fake urgency. I would love to work with as many clients as possible. But the reason it exists is because I take this conversation very seriously. And because one-on-one coaching is deeply involved work, I can only work with a limited number of people at a time and only on topics I am trained for. So everything you share on this form is confidential. I'm an ICF certified coach, and discretion is something I care deeply about, and International Coaching Federation holds us accountable for. And the application link is in the description. When the student is ready, the mentor appears, and I hope the timing is right and you feel ready and what I shared deeply resonates. And I hope we meet soon. Thank you very much for listening and hope to see you in the call.